want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar, Season 3, Episode 1, Ray. We are past the draft. We've actually met in person, finally.
Yes, man. And let me say once again how awesome that was. Thank you again for the tour of Boston. A wonderful city, historic city. And it was just a wonderful experience. And dude, hugging the big man. Right. I told you I was a hugger right off the start. Thankfully, you were a hugger too. And pow. And I've got my jersey on, a beautiful gift.
You look good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is going to be a standard. Did you feel weird wearing the chains around the city like that? Did you think we were getting any weird looks? I thought I detected a little bit of, I don't know. It could have been animosity, but muted. They were friendly enough. Everyone was enjoying the fact that it was the long weekend already. But I saw some strange looks. I'm not going to lie.
So I think there's two reasons for it, if I'm being honest. One is, so Ray and I are both over 6 feet. We're both like big guys. We both have salt and pepper hair. We look, and we both had on Storm Cellar shirts. We had on these Let's Go Canes, the oversized fake chains that people have been wearing. So that's one, right, in Boston. Two is in the New England, where we are very accepting of lifestyles. I bet a lot of people thought that like that's a cute couple going by.
They might have. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Which is cool.
Oh yeah,
in my books,
that's fine with me.
Yeah, no doubt. We
definitely got some looks from people. So
there was, I don't know. It was great. It was so much fun. It was the best. And I was like, oh man, I wish we could do this. I wish we could do this every week, but together. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, thank goodness for the internet. And Raymond, you've been experiencing this for a couple years now. So
that'd be awesome. You just have to move to America, or I have to flee and move to Canada.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we're working on it. Like I said, after that trip to the East, I was like, I really didn't know if I wanted to come back to Calgary. I don't know. We'll call it Goudreau-itis, maybe, not wanting to come back to Calgary. Ooh, too soon?
No, not at all.
No, okay, there you go.
Columbus, I mean, all props to Johnny Hockey. He owed Calgary nothing. I know a couple of journalists were like, oh, he should have taken the discount. No, he should. These guys are making multi-million-dollar contracts, but it's no different than somebody working at McDonald's for $15 an hour. If you are no longer an asset to the company, they will get rid of you in a flash. No questions asked, whether you make $15 an hour or $15 million a year. So, and I have no problem with guys not taking team-friendly deals and saying, look, I'm doing what's best for me. I'm chasing the money, because that's what we all do. It's a lot more money at that level, but I'm not going to blame the guy.
But it was so weird because Calgary came in strong, over 10 million a year. They threw everything that they could at him. And then the whole idea that everyone had was the reason was, this was a family decision. We want to be closer to family. Well, all of his family is kind of New Jersey, Philadelphia, right? And when he landed in Columbus, it came for less money, certainly less money than what he
millions per year,
less than what in Calgary, less than he was. I believe New Jersey threw 10 million at him too, and they turned it down.
Islanders tried. The Flyers said they never were in on him, which is shocking.
That is shocking to me. I was trying to figure out how. If you really just don't want to be here, then don't just say, oh, it's a family thing. I'm trying to be closer to home. Columbus is still 9 hours away from. It's a 9-hour drive.
It's a hike.
Yeah,
But to his credit, the reports out of Calgary I saw were like he should have taken less to stay in Calgary. It clearly was not about the money because he left tens of millions on the table.
Yeah, and
I mean,
taking
not
less
a
in Calgary.
little. So
I
for
didn't
him.
agree. I didn't agree with that like that. There's Flames fans are saying, well, and the whole idea was protect the team. We've got other guys to sign. We love you here. You're like a god amongst men. There was all of that discussion. It's like, no, you're right. And you were absolutely right, Brad. Take the money where you could get it. But he wasn't offered any, like, no one could beat what Calgary threw at him. And he still didn't take it. And that says more about the real reason. Like, he just wanted to be.
I've heard the Devils were approaching 12 million. Like, I think with incentives, it was you know what I think? He wanted to be closer to home. I saw things about he couldn't handle the pressure, which was the funniest one that I saw because it's like, have you seen his stats in Calgary? This isn't pressure. He wanted a change of pace. He's going to be in Columbus. He's going to be the guy who helps put Columbus really on the map.
Well, he
much more so
does.
than like Patrick Laine and those. I mean, those guys have done a tremendous job. Don't get me wrong, but Johnny Hockey in Columbus is going to make Columbus. I don't know that they're winning a cup or even being a contender for the next several years, even with him there. But he gives them instant legitimacy.
Yeah,
and he's going to do well. Like, he's going to play in the Metro against some of the best. The Metro's solid. I mean,
yeah, we're gonna get a healthy dose of Johnny Hockey here in this coming season, and it should make things very, very interesting for the Hurricanes, who, oh, by the way, won the free agent frenzy day. In my humble opinion, they won it.
If not them, maybe like Detroit would be maybe I mean, there are one or two teams that, Columbus got the one signing, but they have to build. I don't think anybody should think that Carolina didn't do a top 2, free agent day. But
yeah,
real quick though, I don't know enough about any of these guys to really get into them. So I'm hoping we can maybe get Alex, who's at Future Canes on Twitter, or somebody on one day.
Yeah.
Canes didn't have a first-round draft pick.
Nope.
They get Gleb Trikozov at number 60, Alexander Perevalov at 71, Simon Forsmark, Cruz Lucius, what an amazing name that is.
That's a fantastic name.
Vladimir Grudnin, Jacob Vondras, and Alexander Pelevin. So I think we ended up with 6 Russians, which the Hurricanes used to be super gun shy about. Like, if you remember back in the days with like Kovalchuk, and you couldn't necessarily get those guys over.
Yeah.
With the way things are going now, that still might be an issue. But when you start talking 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys, I like what Don does. Don shoots for the moon. Like, these guys are going to be great, or we're never going to see them. Because why draft an average guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th round now? And Don's made some good drafts. I mean, Stevie, who we just traded away, was a 7th round guy, I think.
Wow.
Who we got in, for Brent Burns, right?
Yeah.
So I think the Canes drafted well from what I've read. I can't speak to it enough because I just don't have the time to watch these up and comers. But we're hoping to get a guest on who we can go through I'd like to go through the draft with somebody like Alex,
sure,
who really knows what they're talking about when it comes to these prospects. But everything I understand is that the Canes took a couple of guys who could have been. It might have been Gleb, who could have been a first or second, or first or high second rounder.
Yeah,
who fell to 60 because I think of the
fear
aspect of getting him out and getting him over. It sounds like very solid draft for the Canes. I don't know if you have anything to add, but I just don't know enough about him. I don't want to do a deep dive.
Trikozov was the one that really jumped out at me. I couldn't believe that he wasn't gone before 60. That was actually my only thought really on all of that. I don't know enough about Perevalov or the others. And like you said, we will default to the experts and bring someone in who can fill us in on that. But Trikozov, it was like, what? He was still available? How is that how is that possible? And he
Mhm.
could make a big splash. Like
That'd
I'm
be
looking,
great.
you know,
It's
2 years down the road or whatever, it'll be that part of the building from within a solid foundation of guys that you can bring up and just having that you know, embarrassment of riches. I guess that's what you want in an organization, and certainly we're in good shape. And
and
like Waddell, the man, he's wily. Wiley Waddell. How did he
you know what's
manage?
funny? Just to go off of your quote about a Wiley, Don Waddell gets on the mic and says, "I'm going to do X, Y, and Z," and we all go, oh, "That's GM talk. We don't really know what he's thinking." And then he just does what he says he's going to do all
Yeah,
the time. It's amazing to me that we it's a cycle, right? Like the day before the draft, everybody's like, "Oh, the Hurricanes aren't going to do anything, and
yeah,
they're not going to improve at
speculation
all."
and yeah,
And then Don pulls out like a couple of huge moves, and you're like, "Oh my god! Like, how did he make that work?" And then you get into the season, you're like, "Oh wow, those moves were good moves." And then we all forget like 363 days in, and we're like, "Oh, Don, I don't know what he's going to do." But
yeah.
he
Here's a
turned. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say very quickly, and I'm sorry to jump in, but this is a question that I think we can get to at the end of all of our discussion in the coming. That I've got a question. So I'm gonna lay out a question, then we'll talk about what's happened. Okay. As it stands immediately, are the Canes better now than they were last season? Are the Canes better? And we look at how great they played last year with the really unfortunate playoff result, losing the players that we did, bringing in the deals. So we'll go through it all. And at the end of all of this, are the Canes better? Okay. So
I like
that's
it.
what we'll
Yeah,
do. We'll premise this segment of the discussion.
sure.
And go ahead.
And just to kind of go back to the draft stuff. If Ray and I don't know, Ray and I are both pretty confident dudes. We'll just go, we don't know. We're
Yeah.
guessing, we're speculating. We
Yeah.
don't know everything. I don't think we've ever tried to BS people on the podcast into thinking we know more than we know. We're pretty honest about. I'm not sure, but I think this is correct.
Yeah.
I like your idea. I think we go through some of the big moves, and then we kind of hopefully let the facts kind of drive the opinions.
For sure.
And there's no better place to start than the best face in the Canes organization now, Brent Burns.
Oh, the beard.
Who has the beard? He has the missing fronts, right?
Yeah.
So out of the blue in my mind, because although Don was linked to Burns a little bit, but it seemed to be more of a Klingberg
Right.
situation, who's still not signed, which is kind of amazing.
Still.
But we give up Stephen Lorentz, who I know is a heartbreaker for some folks like Haley who love him. I thought he was just the nicest guy. He had the nicest things to say on the way out. The reporters out there have already been like, wow, this is like the greatest kid we've talked to. Itu Makanyami and a 2023 third round pick for Brent Burns, who is, despite being old, the one knock that I had on him, because so Ray texted me like the day before and is like, "What do you think about Burns?" And I'm like, other than he's like, our age, which is not quite true. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
I don't know, like that's my fear, right? His projected WAR, right, wins above replacement is 55, which is pretty solid number.
Yep.
The biggest thing with him is this guy will give you as much offense as we had last year from D'Angelo.
Yeah.
But he plays defense.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, JFresh Hockey puts out those cute little cards. I say cute, those really interesting little cards that kind of give you a bunch of guy at a glance.
Yep.
Tony's defensive score was a 4.
Yeesh.
I'm not saying that's bad, but I am saying that like you could throw a couple of sandbags on the ice and that's like a 1.
Yeah.
Brent Burns is a 34, which is nothing compared to like a Jacob Slavin. but
Yep.
that's a huge increase. Not to mention that Burn, like, somebody had messaged me on Twitter and said, like, what do you think is the upside to Burns over Tony DeAngelo?
Oof.
I said offensively they're about the same. Defensively, it's much better. The real issue, I said, the real difference to me is about 6 or 8 inches and like 55 pounds.
Without question. And the man is an all-star defenseman who bombs shots. He takes a lot of shots. And that is exactly what we need from him. And the fact that he is an excellent, I don't want to minimize him by calling him the serviceable defenseman, because he's more than that by a long ways. He's a real great step up. I was blown away when we got him, and I was thinking to myself, did San Jose really need to let him go and were willing to take as little? And that sounds like a besmirchment of the players that we gave up, and it is not. But I expected that the price would be a little bit higher than what we paid for Brent Burns.
I think it's the contract, right? 3 years and almost $8 million. I think it still is.
And they had to eat some of that too.
They're eating a third. So the Canes are getting Tony's replacement for Tony's money with better defense, more size, more physicality. The biggest thing for me, the biggest knock that I've heard, what's going back to his age, is like he's 37.
Yeah, he's on the backside. Yeah,
he is, but he's an Iron Man. He hasn't missed a game in like 7 or 8 years.
Man's invincible.
I think he was the leader in TOI last year for time on ice.
Very
26
close.
minutes a night. That's 3 or 4 more minutes than Jacob Slavin plays. He'll never have to play 26 minutes in Carolina.
No.
So he's going to end up playing less overall minutes as he gets older. They can substitute in and shift guys around in a bit, probably get him down closer to 20 minutes a night, which is, if you think about it, that's like a 20% decrease in time on ice. He's rock solid. He gets injured, but he gets hurt, but not injured. Like he can play through it. So I said the knock on old guys is that their productivity falls off and they become injury prone.
Yeah,
and his production's come down a little bit, but it's still where it was in like the 2019 season, right? And his defense has actually gotten better over the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's such a workhorse. I'm
super psyched for this signing.
And the best part about this is he's going to, I mean, we're talking about his production falling a little bit, and I'm thinking with the talent that we put him on the ice with, especially on the power play, there's no way his production drops.
San Jose was not a great team last year.
He is going to produce. He's going to put up a lot of numbers. And again, a lot of it will be driven by those huge shots from the point. He's an excellent passer. He likes to crash the net too. He does that thing that you and I like. He picks his spots to go to the net properly. He won't put himself out of position, but he drives the net. He's got so much talent. He's going to be a great face for this team. You mentioned it. As far as the face goes, I still laugh at thinking we got the Snickers guy, the Snickers commercial guy. Have you seen the Snickers commercials and stuff he's been doing? I mean, they're just hilarious. And I'm thinking to myself, we have him. He's so great. He's funny. Everyone loves him as a teammate. This is a huge, huge win. A huge win. And now, I'll throw this out there. He replaces TDA, who moved on, signed in Philly, and I have to say, TDA and their new head coach could provide some of the most wonderful popcorn eating sessions that anyone would ever see. However, I would like to say, TDA did exactly what I asked for specifically, and I think we did. He shut up and put up. Thank you for your service last year. We wish you would have been a little bit better on defense, but TDA, you kept your nose clean. You played the game well. We enjoyed, we enjoyed the production. We enjoyed being happily surprised that there wasn't any crap.
Yeah, from a
Going
hockey
along.
perspective, I think we both said when he was playing well, and we both called him out when he made some dumb defensive mistakes.
Yep.
But for $1 million, he exceeded that value many times over.
No question.
I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not glad he's gone, especially with getting
No.
Burns. Like now, I'm super psyched.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm not gonna hammer Tony's play too much, other than when I see people say we just lost one of our best defensemen. We didn't. We lost one of our best offensive players who happens to play defense. But Tony's defense was never good. It was serviceable because he played beside Jacob Slavin. And now Slavin might get better because Slavin is playing against a guy who can really be a number two, who he and Tony both put up 10 goals last year. Burns actually had four more assists. And people may not realize that San Jose was 32-37 last year. They were like the 23rd best team instead of the third best team.
Yeah.
I mean, for Burns to put up 54 points on that team, if he can put up 54 points on our, for the Canes, I'm super psyched. The other thing is he's an assistant captain in San Jose. He's going to bring that veteran leadership here. Oof. He's the kind of guy who, if you're not cutting in the playoffs, I don't think he's going to let that slide. Like he feels like the kind of guy who's going to be vocal in the locker room and let people know. So I'm psyched.
I want to put a very fine point on something that you just said. Brent Burns could make Jacob Slavin even better.
Which is scary and awesome all at the same time.
Isn't it? Like, that is just wow. Just wow. To have two players of their caliber who could be playing side by side, and everyone's defaulted to that. Now, Rod is going to position the lines the way he wants. But when you think about the time of minutes that those workhorses can take when the going gets tough, and there will be some tough games, there always are. My goodness, Brent Burns couldn't have been happier.
And to go along with Brent Burns, right?
Yeah.
They bring in so the Canes were next said to be in on Mason Marchment out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Would fill that big physical role that may be left by Niederreiter if Niederreiter doesn't get re-signed.
Right.
But he's bigger. He has more potential upside. It sounds like it could have been the Canes or Dallas. He chose Dallas. His father recently passed, I think it was last month, recently. Geez. He knows a lot of guys in the Dallas locker room. All the best to him. I think he made a decision that he just needed to be surrounded by people that he kind of knew and, could feel comfortable with.
Yep.
Which opens the door for Don. Just call the police. The FBI should be involved, right? The FBI is involved in any major robbery. And the Hurricanes get Max Pacioretty from Vegas for future considerations, which we all know is, well, we don't all know because that's all about people ask us. So for those of you who don't know, future considerations could mean anything from generally nothing to, if we resign them long term, we'll give you some picks. It could be like we're going to ship them a pallet full of Cheerwine or send them a couple of Bojangles 12-piece meals. I mean, future considerations could be just about anything. Max Pacioretty, I mean, he plays in Vegas. The name, most people will recognize it, but he, along with Brent Burns, add two things that the Hurricanes needed.
Yeah.
One is size.
Yep.
Max is 6'2", 220.
He's big.
That's official, which means he's probably closer to 6'3", like 230.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 33, but the dude is in his prime. Last year, 19 goals, 37 points in 39 games played.
Yeah, injuries hurt him last year for
They
sure.
did. Max Pacioretty's WAR, his wins above replacement, is a 94%. His finishing is a 98. Max Pacioretty is a guy who likes to put the puck in the net, and he came out and told Kane's social media that straight up. My job is to find the back of the net. And what did we say before all this broke down, before we broke? The Canes need a finisher.
Yep.
And I see a lot of people slotting Max in on the first line. I would not. I would keep that first line of Aho, Teravainen, and Jarvis together because I just like those three guys.
Yeah.
But if you put Svechnikov on one side, KK's not big and physical, but he's big, and you put Max on the other, and on the other side, you put Max on the left and Svech on the right. Oh my God! Like, don't get in their way if they're in a bad mood, because those three guys could crush you.
Oh, I can't even. So look, there are every other GM in the league outside of Carolina and Vegas were wondering why the hell they didn't know that the Golden Knights were throwing away some of their best talent for nothing. It was a straight salary dump. They were in a huge trouble. They had to get rid of Pacioretty so that they could sign another player to get under. They had to get rid of him. And every other GM in the league is going, why the hell didn't I call Vegas? If they're throwing Pacioretty away, we could have taken him. And I don't know if Don was just called at the right time, or if he had always, you know what I mean? Like, you could have been just
I said on social media,
right?
I said, do you think they made the decision and the phone rang? It just happened to be Don. They're like, hey, Don, we just decided to get rid of Max Pacioretty for nothing. You want him?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was like, and you remember my tweet? I tweeted you me, Max Pacioretty? What?
Love it.
Where, like, what? I was just flabbergasted. I was, and I work as a courier, and I'm driving, and I didn't almost cause an accident with anyone else, but I did damn near drive off the road. I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Can I put a bigger grin on your face?
Oh,
you might remember this, but Max Pacioretty came to the Vegas Golden Knights from,
I know,
the team who must not be named.
Exactly.
For Thomas Tatar and Nick Suzuki and a second-round pick.
It was unbelievable.
And the Canes got him for
nothing. Yeah, and look, and those of you who know me, I am easily overlooking Pacioretty's history and association with the team that shall not be named.
He's under contract. He couldn't make it. He couldn't say no.
Yeah,
he's under contract.
His time with Vegas has wiped away any history from before that. So I'm okay with it. I'm especially okay when I find out that Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty, who had a little bit of history when they were, playing against each other pretty steadily there over in the West. And it was hilarious, this story. Pacioretty gets signed, and suddenly on his phone, there's this FaceTime request, but he doesn't know what the number is. So Pacioretty's like, I'm not taking that. I don't know. Probably pretty wise, right?
I don't do that, and I'm not even famous.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden he looks back and he checks it out and he goes, wait, that's Brent Burns. They eventually connect and talk this one out. And Burns, I can see him, I can picture him with this big smile on his face saying, hey, isn't it going to be great that we don't have to cross-check each other in the face anymore? And they talk it out. they kind of have a little tete-a-tete. Okay, we're teammates now, so you and I duking it out pretty physically in the past. We can bury that hatchet because now we're in the promised land. We're in Raleigh. We're going to do some great things.
And I love both these deals. And to recap a little bit, Burns 6'5", like 230 as he's listed. Pacioretty 6'2", 220. Ages 37 and 33 respectively. These are known quantities. You kind of know what you're going to get. These are guys who both come in and said the right things, right? Burnsy's like, I'm going to fit in well here. Pacioretty's like, my job is to put the puck in the net. And both of these guys basically, and don't forget, Burns had a 3-team no movement clause. He had to waive that to come to Carolina.
Yeah.
So he wants to be here. He's happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
And a captain and an alternate captain, you're bringing in veteran leadership, and these guys want to win a cup now.
Man. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for this. I really am.
It's great.
To keep moving, bottom six forward, but Andre Case gets picked up. 1 year, $1.5 million. He fell off, for a couple years. I think it was injury related, but if as a fourth liner, I'm fine. As a third liner, even I think I'm okay if that's how it goes. So Andre Case getting signed up. He's young. He's like 25, 26. I mean, I feel like he's one of the concussion guys, so you have to be careful there.
Yeah.
So
very quickly, I'll jump in, and I had a chance to chat with some Twitter folk here on the free agent frenzy day, and they pronounced his name as Kasha.
Oh, and so, I'm sure they're right. I'm not.
And so we'll throw that out there. I did not know where he came from, and I saw he was with the Leafs, and I kind of said, really? Was he invisible with the Leafs? I mean, all of the talk around Matthews and you know what I mean, and Marner and
it's easy to get lost in Toronto.
I mean,
right?
It is easy to get lost in Toronto. And that's kind of funny. How do you get lost in Toronto when the spotlight is so bright, right? Well, Matthews was taking up most of that spotlight. Let's be perfectly honest. Kasha, yeah. I mean, is he going to be third line? Is he going to be fourth line? I mean, I guess that all depends on what we want to do with a few of our players from the championship winning Wolves coming up this season. Guys like Drury and Nason. Could you see Drury, Nason, Kasha on the fourth line? You're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. You certainly could see that line, right? You could see Andre moved up to the third line and Martinook on the fourth line. There's still a little bit of wiggle room there for what the potential lines could be. But if he if he can keep from getting hurt, because I looked it up, that's what I was doing. It was post-concussion syndrome, so it's kept him out quite a bit. Former Bruin, right? Former Duck, now former Leaf. It's a low risk to me in terms of the dollar value.
Yeah.
Another low risk, potentially high reward if he can find his groove. So
find health, find his groove. Exactly. He would be great as far as lines goes and stuff. We had a long chat about that. I had an idea about a third line replacement if we are unfortunately unable to re-sign Nino. We'll maybe take a sprinkle of idea for lines here coming up later in the show. Let's talk about something that Don Waddell spoke about on his discussion. He had an interview here on Thursday. Everyone was so impressed with his maneuvering and his, bringing in these great players. Of course, the experts wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. How in the world did you pull this off? And he was speaking on the NHL Network, and I had a chance to hear him speak about Gardner. One of the questions was,
Mm.
now you've brought in Brent Burns. You got you got a healthy group of defensemen here. What of Gardner? And his comments were, all things say that he's not only healthy, but he'll be, training camp, the first day he's showing up to camp, he's going to be ready to go and basically fight for position, fight for, where he's going to be in all of this. And that's good news. Again, this is the whole embarrassment of riches, right? The glut of talent and help that we have on this squad. Where do you think he fits in on this? And I guess we've got Chatfield also to add into our defensive situation. Ethan Bear as well. Some interesting things with Bear in particular also. Take us through. What do you think about Gardner? Like where does he fit in? Do you think
Sure.
he's got the wheels to, I mean, does he have the wheels and ability?
Having seen Chatfield play in person now,
Yep.
He's in. I'd slot him into my bottom six today. I said during the playoffs I'd rather have him in there over
Yep.
Brendan Smith. So I think that's one of your bottom two guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes, you have Gardner. You gave a qualifying offer to Bear that hasn't been accepted. He's filed for arbitration. You also, could go elsewhere, right? So we have a couple of things, because the other part of that Brent Burns deal was I can't think of his name. And he's
Coughlin,
a D guy,
yeah.
right?
He's a D guy and a right-handed shot as well.
So there's your other potential bottom six guy. Jake Gardner in Toronto, now this is going back a ways, right? 15, sure. 16, 17, 52 points, 43 points. He comes to Carolina and in 2 seasons, 24 points and 8 points. And I bagged him in that 2021 year because he was terrible.
Yeah.
He was just awful. 1920, I bagged him too. He was not realizing the extent of his injuries. Like if he was hurt that bad, he shouldn't have been playing. Like that's management's fault and him probably underreporting the severity of his injuries.
Sure.
If we can get back, the late teens, version of Jake Gardner, then he's going to be a guy who's going to give you somewhere between, 6 and 10 goals and 35 and 45 assists for only $4 million.
Cheap.
So I know people can't wait to move him because we don't know, because he could be the Jake Gardner of the 2020s and he could be terrible.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if you're Don Waddell, you take it one of two ways. If I would imagine at this point, Don's at least seen him skate, seen him move, right?
Right.
You can do those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think he has it, I think you try and ship him somewhere like the Ducks, because the Ducks haven't hit the cap floor yet. Like they have to add salary. Right. So they're going to take on bad contracts just to hit the floor. Like they really don't have a choice. Now what else you have to give them to take on that contract becomes the big question, right? Would they do it for just picks? Would they do it for somebody out of, the farm system? I don't know. But if you're going to get rid of him, he's not going to a contender, right? Most likely because of the unknowns. Because if they were going to take a flyer on him, so probably would you.
Yeah.
I want to see him in camp. You can always try to move him later. But if he's actually healthy, the kid can skate and he can put up points like when he's healthy. I don't think he was really ever healthy after that 2017-18 season, because he went from 31 points to 43 to 52 to 24 when he came to Carolina. And we got him because he'd gotten hurt. I don't think we've ever seen the healthy Jake Gardner in the Carolina. I think that's a big deal. I want to see a healthy Jake Gardner. If I know it ties up $4 million in cap space, this is where things get muddy. And we kind of answered this at the Frog Pond, right?
Yeah, we sure did.
So if you move him out, you free up maybe $4 million in space.
Mhm.
Now you can sign Natchez and maybe Niederreiter, and you still have to make a decision about Bear, because if Bear gets qualified by an arbitrator for less than $4 million, you have to take that contract. You can't opt out, and it's like 4.2 or 4.3 million. So now you start playing the numbers game, right? So if you don't get rid of Gardner, then you can't bring back Natchez and Nino. I ran a Twitter poll, and it was like 8-1, 8-2. People would rather have Nino back over Natchez. I don't disagree with them, but one is almost 30, and you've kind of already replaced him a bit, bringing in somebody like a Max Pacioretty.
Yeah.
One is a kid who has a very high potential ceiling, but a much lower floor, as we saw last year. But even so, last year was the first year that Nino scored more points than Natchez. Out of the last like 4 years, Natchez has outscored Nino 3 of the 4 years. So
something that we lose you can lose that you can lose perspective.
He
That's
started
exactly
off hot.
it.
We all think about the second half of the season. He put up 40 points last year, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think you can give up on Natchez. I think a bridge deal for Natchez is more important than re-signing Nino, as much as I would like to have Nino back. And that ties into, can you keep Gardner? If it was me and I'm Don and I want to win a cup now, I would give Gardner a shot, because if Gardner can play power play 2 quarterback and then sit back in the 5-6 spot, so he's not hurting you as much defensively.
Yeah,
that's firepower to win now while you got these other guys. Marty Natchez, I don't think he's going to stay at the floor, right? His ceiling is much higher. Nino, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Floor is lower, but ceiling is higher.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Natchez is the wild card. Ceiling is much, much higher. Floor is potentially much, much lower. But I think if I'm Don Waddell, I'm giving Gardner a chance. And then if you have to buy him out, you lose $2 million, but so be it. At least you get a look at him. I would go for signing Natchez, and then you still have to figure out what to do with Bear. All for $5 million, by the way. Unless you shoot Gardner out, you're working with like 4.8 million or something like that.
Now that we have all of the forward talent that we have, where does Natchez fit in? I mean, does he go to the 4th line?
Oh, sorry. The Hurricanes just tweeted out a replica jersey, Burns in the number 8, because he was 88 before.
Yeah.
So relevant to our Marty Natchez discussion, who wears number, what is it again? Was it 88?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Burns will be taking on the number 8, it appears.
Is that a harbinger of things to come?
I don't know, but I kind of hope so. I mean,
yeah,
it's one of those like,
maybe this means something good. Look, as far as Natchez goes, I'd like to sign him, but once you sign him, where do you put him? Where do you put him?
But
is he wasted on a 4th line? Because to me, Natchez, not a top line, not our front 6 guy.
So
right now, not with the players that we have.
In my mind, okay, I'm gonna take a tangent here a little bit. Aho, Jarvis, Turbo, I've said all along, I love that line. You can move Svetch and Patches up and not lose a step, and in fact just get a different look.
Yeah,
but I like the big body line of Svetch, KK, and Patches as the second line.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, your third line is still stalling fast. So the other Andre could fill that role. If you re-sign Marty Natchez, you can take some of the pressure off of him by putting him in that role. That's a checking line. It's not his skill set, but it gives that line a little more oomph, right?
Does it? But does it? Does it diminish what that third line was so great at, which was absolute, complete, and unequivocal shutdown of offense on the opposition?
It does some, but I guess my retort would be, can anybody do that as good as Nino, Stahl, and Fast? I mean, the three of them just were lights out the whole year. I
Yeah,
don't know that you can replace Niederreiter on that line and get the same result. And it could have been, that could have been a one-time thing. We just don't know, right?
yeah,
But Nate just at least gives you another what should be top 6 guy. Is Svetch isn't going to put the puck in the net as much as he could, because we both think that he could be a potential, 40 goal guy. You can move that big body down to the third line some.
and Natchez plays center as well, does he not?
He does. So you could put Natchez up and leave KK on the third line.
You
The
could.
biggest thing is, instead of having to rely on Drury, who I think will make the team and I think will do a great job on the fourth line,
Yeah,
instead of having to rely on that, Nate just gives you another guy. Because even with Nino's really a second line guy. He puts up second line numbers. He should get second line money from somebody.
yeah.
We were fortunate to be able to play him on the third line. So
Man, oh
it
man.
definitely, I would rather have that problem, Ray, than the problem of, oh no, what do we do? Why are we running first line Martinook? If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem I don't want to have.
And I've said this, I think that if we couldn't land Nino, that Martinook actually fits in on the third line aspect a little bit better, simply because of his cycle ability, his forecheck ability, his aggressiveness. Like that fits in nicely on that third line. I could see Martinook playing third line and
Yeah.
really helping in that shutdown mode. That's the kind of player that he is. He can be aggressive and do that great forecheck, and we saw it so many times where in the great games that the Canes had, when all four lines were going, when that fourth line could go out there and just dominate the puck in the offensive zone, because they could cycle it, and maybe they didn't score, but it was guys like Martinook that was making life difficult.
When the other team is stuck in their zone for the first 30 seconds of their shift, great, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe if you move Martin up to the third line, so then you could potentially have a fourth line that has Drury and Nozen, right? Or Nazen, excuse me,
Yeah.
and those two guys would, Drury less so than Nazen, or would be traditional fourth line guys, right?
Mhm.
Drury is going to be there because he's young, but what if you put Marty Natchez with those, and instead of just a grindy fourth line, you have a fourth line that can go out against the other team's line and put points on the board?
A
Because
different
watching
type
Drury
of
and
third
Nason
line.
together was just like, oh, like this is a beauty. Love
Yeah,
it.
to me, that's a different type of third line. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, I
We've
mean the
got it where
fourth
you have
line,
a
right? And then
yeah,
you
yeah,
leave the third. You have a solid. You leave Martinook and have a really tough third line to check against, but your fourth line goes from being a grind line to being a
to
limited use skill line.
yeah, and who could put the puck in the net. And by the way, look again, this is the embarrassment of riches thing again. How many other teams in the league would like to have the problems that we're discussing right now? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, this is crazy. As far as it goes, to circle this back to Bear, uh, I had a question about this, and it doesn't seem like a really big problem, but it's something that I always have wondered about for many, many years. And that is the players that go to arbitration. Does that muddy the waters in the relationship between player and team? Bear, I think it's safe to say that before COVID, there were 0 issues with his play. He was playing fantastic, defensively sound, and he was going to the net, making some great, great moves, scoring points. He was a success. He gets COVID, comes back, and is not even close to the same guy he was when he started. Now, there are a lot of people, a lot of fans love Ethan Bear, myself
Yeah,
included.
both of us are raised our hand.
We are definitely right in there. We were very excited. We want him. I want him to stay. Does the whole business aspect of this affect anything? I've always wondered about that. And I don't know.
So layman's opinion. So I haven't been a general manager of a sports team, but I was, basically a
played one on
general
TV.
manager. Well, no, but I was a general manager of a private company. So I oversaw, 6 retail stores, right?
Wow.
So a good GM, a good manager in general.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's business. You know the deal. You're a part. The arbitrator's job is to find in theory, an independent person is going to say, this is where I think you need to land. And you don't take that personally. It's just part of doing business, right? As a player, if you get traded, you shouldn't take it personally unless you know. If you're Patrick Waugh leaving the Canadians, that's personal.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, I'm not playing for you ever again.
Yeah.
But usually that's not the case, right? In Bear's case, the real problem here is, so arbitrators typically, for those who don't know, they tend to be player friendly, right? They tend to look at all the contracts, and they often over compare players. So they'll take a player and they don't compare them to maybe what we might call their peers. They actually kind of go up a little bit compared to those guys. And so when arbitrators normally seem to give player friendly deals, anecdotally, I don't have any evidence to support that other than the old eye test. But Bear was scratched so much of the season and saw basically 0 time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You could look at him and tell it's not the same. So I don't know what their information, like what their information resource gathering is, and like what they do and don't look at. But in my mind, in some ways, arbitration could hurt Bear's case. Like I don't think that an arbitrator would give him less than the Canes would be, had offered, but I don't think it's going to do anything other than prolong the issue, which might be part of it too, because even though he's filed for arbitration, he can still be traded, and then arbitration goes out the window. He has to deal with his new team.
Right.
So in Bear's case, the biggest thing is that once, like I said, the number's like 4.2 million. If an arbitrator awards him more than that, then the Canes have to decide if they're going to do it or they let him go.
Yeah.
They offer him less, they have to sign him to the contract. You got to make sure. And you can be 10% over the cap for these next couple of months as you sort things out. So going over the cap, we have a little over 4.8-ish million in cap space. You can go over that for now by 10%. You just have to be below, I think, before season starts, or in that time frame. So Bear's a wild card, and some of Bear plays into Garner because you don't need both. You really don't want both. So what you have are 2 guys who in the past have put up pretty good numbers. Garner's actually better than Bear because you have more history there.
Yep.
Right. I prefer Bear over Gardner if I'm just having to pick between the 2 guys. But they're when you look at their actual play, the last times they played, it's you're taking a risk on either of them. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that you're going to have a glut of defensemen if you keep Gardner and Bear gets a low arbitration award.
Wow.
I have to think Bear is probably going to get moved. Just because I was looking here because you have we brought in Burns, Pacioretty, Andre, Coughlin, Peterson. So you have 2 defensemen coming in, and your bottom pair, right? Your bottom pairs right now in my mind are Slavin Burns is an easy one. Why break up Pesce and Shea? Chatfield deserves a shot. I don't think any of the guys we're talking about are better than the way Chatfield's been playing. So then you have Chatfield and who? And you have 3 potential guys to put in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the 7th D-man being in the wings, you don't need all 3 of them. You need 2.
Yeah.
So Who's the
Where
odd
does
man out?
Coughlin fit in? I wondered about Bear, like if that made if going to arbitration made players a little salty, where you're
On
like,
the
you
player
don't
side, maybe.
on the player side, yeah, like where they
But
say, come on, man, like what the talent that I have. Like there are some people that have overinflated views of themselves. I'm guilty of that sometimes, but when it comes to something as important as this, and being paid what you're worth, a guy can come in and say, you're coming at me with that kind of contract, didn't I do a little bit better? Like, so we're going to go to arbitration, and if it doesn't work out, is there saltiness left over? And I don't know. This is a very tough situation. And I think actually Coughlin coming in muddies the waters even further, because I don't know much about him, but I know that he has, some of the parameters that were needed, right? Like a right-handed shot, and not terrible defenseman, like certainly in that bottom pairing type situation when you look at how talented we are everywhere else. This is tough.
oh,
Very tough.
in Bears' case specifically, I would say this, Ray. Do you think Bears salty having not played basically the last half of the season in the playoffs? I do. I mean, I'd be
I
ticked
I
off if I
think
was him. Unless
I think
there's
I
an
would be
underlying injury
too.
we don't know. So
Well,
could arbitration make it worse? That would be my real question. And my answer would be
yeah,
probably not. If he's probably already upset at his playing time. But
yeah,
I think he also seemed to know, like he didn't look the same post COVID. He was a lot slower, and then he was wearing a boot during X interviews. So I don't know that there isn't something else going on there that we just don't know about.
yeah. I
So
mean,
I don't think arbitration would make Bear feel worse because he's probably already got an axe to grind.
maybe maybe
And
a
that might
little.
just be wanting the opportunity to prove himself, right?
I think
So
in his case, it certainly would be based on, his past and how, I think back to, when he was dealt from Edmonton, and the no other word for it, the hate aimed at him for
ridiculous.
really, it was not legitimate reasons. It was awful, the hate that was thrown at him.
Racist being
And
racist.
it's yeah, exactly. And so, you know maybe he's got that history of underappreciation. And uh, Ethan, I appreciate you, we appreciate you, I'd love to see you on. How this is all going to work out in the end, I don't know. Which
Yeah.
then brings us to Nino. Nino, not signed yet
By anyone. No, I haven't
by
even seen his
anyone.
name mentioned by anyone outside of the Canes fandom. That's the
And
really weird part.
it is very strange. Why, in the free agent discussion, why is he not even referenced? It's like he doesn't exist. No
The
one's talked about him.
the only thing I can think of is Kadri is also a UFA. And
And I've
I imagine that domino has to fall so that all the other power forward dominoes know what the price is. I think all the agents are looking at Kadri to see what he gets to set the price. The biggest thing is with only $5 million to spend, Nature's an RFA, Bears an RFA, Gardner either has to be bought out or returned to the team or traded. I don't think you can find money for Nino unless another player is going, another on roster player is going out. I don't think you have the money.
would not believe, and this might blow your mind, how many media experts I've heard suggest that Carolina would be the perfect landing spot for Kadri. I'm like,
He'd do well here. With surrounded with the cast that they put together.
He would, but where do we find the money?
Well,
This is
we
not
don't.
like in
That's
base, but yeah, this is
that's the
this
easy
is
part. We
not.
don't.
I
We
mean,
don't have
this is not Major League Baseball where you pay a penalty for going over. This is a luxury tax type thing. You got to stay under. So where does it fit? And I mean, that's another thing altogether. But Nino, I would love to sign him. I'm trying to figure out why someone hasn't picked him up yet.
Like I said, the only thing that I could say is people are waiting for Kadri to fall to see where everybody's going to fit in. But even then, the fact that there's not even talk around him is really surprising.
I'm stunned.
In one way, I'm kind of happy because like maybe that means other teams aren't as interested as his agent thought, and maybe we can get a deal in Carolina. I mean, that would be
Do you think
ideal.
he'd take a? Do you think? I mean, would Nino need to take a haircut to come back to the team? Would he want to?
I think he would need to. I don't think that he would want to, nor do I think that he should. I mean,
No, I
going
don't
back
think
to the
he
Johnny
should
Hockey
either.
reference, he shouldn't.
No.
But if he's going to be slotted in as a third line guy, then yeah, the Canes should pay him third line money. That's
third line money. Yeah.
Look at Tampa. I don't know how Tampa Bay does it. I swear they have $200 million in payroll. They just signed 3 guys to 8-year deals. One of which was like 7 or 8 million. I think another was 7 or 8 million. One was like 4. And what happens is in 5 years, they can't afford those guys. And other GMs take those contracts. I don't know why GMs keep bailing out teams like Lightning or the Leafs. The Leafs, we always talk about how much payroll they have tied up in 3 guys. Like you have a $40 million line, right?
Well, you look at Tampa and those moves and stuff like that, and you talk about the future problem. They are gambling, and what they're gambling on is that the salary cap in the future is going to go up enough for their overspending now.
Right.
Spend now.
Right. They're hoping. And Don's not doing that.
No, he doesn't. He's notorious for that. He does not pay top end money. You know what I mean? Like he's not that guy. And we can't argue with his success, but these other teams, they're gambling. We would, of course, we would love to see that salary cap go up because then all of a sudden our problems are gone.
Right. And it will soon, right?
And it will soon enough.
The owners are almost paid back out of escrow. And as much as we like Nino, I don't think is still a household name league-wide.
No.
So other available forwards. So the people Nino's competing with for a job, Kadri, Jesper Bratt out of New Jersey, who put up 73 points in 76 games. Like, holy smokes, right? Pierre-Luc Dubois from the Jets.
Right.
Keko from New York. Patrick Laine. Andrew Mangiapane.
Wait.
Is he still...
Laine is unrestricted free agent?
I'm sorry. I think these guys are restricted free agents. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But these are still guys who could move is really what I'm getting at.
Right,
Matthew Tkachuk.
right.
Like these, Jason Robertson from Dallas. Like, so those are restricted free agents, but they are looking to add a top forward. There's guys around, right?
Man,
so Nino's an unrestricted, so you're not having to give up anything to get him. That's where his real benefit is. But if you look at the available unrestricted, or I'm sorry, the available free agents, unrestricted free agents here. I thought I brought that list first. Patrice Bergeron, Nazem Kadri, Bill Kessel, right? Paul Stastny. So in my mind, there's 5 or 6 guys I would want ahead of Nino if money's not an object.
Yeah.
Right. So Nino has competition out there. He's unrestricted. This is the biggest thing. He does things that, he's not a Patrice Bergeron type. Like they're not, teams going after one aren't going the other. He's not even a Phil Kessel. Kadri might be the closest thing to Nino in the unrestricted market. But I would love to see Nino back. I hope that the market is soft on him, which would enable that because it's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you still have to deal with your RFAs first, and that really is going to be the thing. The only way Nino comes back, I think, is if Natchez is getting shipped off, or you ship off both Gardner and Bear somehow and drop both of those contracts. Then you could bring in Natchez and maybe Nino. But
Oof.
a
Wow.
little good news, non-Carolina news, but I thought this was interesting. Mark Stahl is now a Florida Panther, and Eric Stahl has a PT, or professional tryout contract
Yeah.
with the Florida Panthers. Good luck to Eric. I was one of the people saying no retreads. Like, don't bring him back to Carolina for a couple.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. That being said, wish the guy all the best. I would love to see him be able to sign on with Florida. It'd be cool, I'm sure, for him to play with his brother. Mark, of course, is the one Stahl brother we haven't had here in Carolina.
Yeah.
So, he probably feels awfully sad about that, but I don't know. That was something that I saw. A nice little family story. I hope the Stahl brothers do well.
It absolutely was. I guess if I'm gonna be, this is gonna sound harsh. Looking at Florida, I do not like. I'm hoping that Eric is hitting the gym hard and prepping for that tryout opportunity that he has, because he looked his age in the Olympics, and it was, you know, I don't want to speak ill of him. He just looked his age, and there's a point where it's time to move on, and maybe that's it. But this will be the definitive thing, and it was a great story to hear a couple of Stahls together on the same team. But I mean, I thought, you know what, that's outstanding. I wish them the best.
I
Wish them the best. If anything, it gives, Hurricane fans, the Caniacs, a chance to greet him warmly when the Panthers come in. There'll always be that opportunity where we can praise and stand and give him the appreciation that he richly deserves for his service in a Canes uniform. So we've talked it all out. We're gonna come down to the question. Here it is, where the rubber meets the road. The question to you, sir: are the Canes better now than they were last season?
They are. They're better than they were 4 days ago, right? They were better than they were on Monday. You've upgraded at D, both in size and defensive prowess, without giving up any offensive talent. Age is just a number until that age actually starts affecting Bernsey, in my mind.
Now, I'm gonna just quickly state: are the Canes? I just want to make sure I'm perfectly clear. Maybe this does or does not change your answer. I'm talking about who we have signed now. So no, we do not have Natchez. No, we don't have Bear. No, we don't have Nino. We've lost all of those other players who have signed off. Right now, the players that we have under contract, are we good to go?
I am. So I was breaking down a little bit, but yeah. So Max Pacioretty is a huge upgrade and a finisher that was needed. Nino, as much as we all love him personally, is replaceable. He's not a super high points guy. He gets in there. He does his job well. He's a lunch bucket, lunch pail kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
If need be, we can find another person to fit that. Marty Natchez gave you points early last season and then completely disappeared. The Canes won without him, not as well, but, and the playoffs is a whole different story. So you can fill in all the lines today. Like we can field a team not knowing about Natchez, Bear, Gardner, and Nino.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend that Nino is just not going to happen because I just don't see how it happens unless, like I said, you get rid of two of the other three. Natchez and Bear are RFAs. They're yours until somebody can take them. And if somebody takes them and gives us, we get picks or players back or prospects, like great. Like you know. So And then Garner. So Garner's the wild card here. Garner's under contract. You could buy him out, although somebody said something about him not being in playing condition, and that might affect the buyout. I don't want to go into it because I don't know how accurate that was. But the short version is Necas and Bear are yours until somebody gives them a contract or you elect to let them go.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, Necas and Bear are still on the team. They're restricted free agents. They still their rights belong to the Hurricanes
Right.
today. They may not have contracts, but they belong to the Hurricanes today.
Okay.
So in my mind, those two guys are there. Gardner is unproven, but Gardner is signed for another year.
Yeah.
The only person that we have lost that I would think we would need replacement for is Nino, because Nino is an unrestricted free agent. We don't own his rights. We don't own anything. So are the Kings better today than Monday? Absolutely, 100%. Is it as much as we'd like to see? Maybe not. I mean, filling that void on the third line is maybe the biggest thing left to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes we as fans read into things, but the fact that Burnsy's taken 8 instead of his traditional, and this is a league veteran, assistant captain changing his number is not, some guys, it's a big deal, right? Like they'll buy gifts for the other guy and take it and all those things. I think Nate just gets done.
So we spoke about this in the Frog Pond. And what did we need to do? We needed to get a scorer, a finisher. Check. We needed to, solidify defense. Check. We're almost there to filling out the rest of the team and giving these prospects from Chicago a chance to come up who could fill in beautifully. Check there.
Mm-hmm.
Are we better than the second round exit? Yeah,
we were last year too. I mean, if we're looking,
we were last year.
Looking at the stats,
yes.
But now they're better on paper. Like
they're better.
They've improved.
They're better on. You're 100% right.
And on a personal level, Johnny going to Columbus instead of New Jersey, thank goodness, because New Jersey, they've started pulling in a few folks. The Isles have done basically nothing. So some of the Metro teams have gotten better along with you.
Yep.
But we've kept pace with those other teams. I think
it was great, and we did it through trades, not through signings, through trades, which is interesting. I did not expect trades to steal the story of the day to me, outside of Johnny Gaudreau, who was the top story. Where is he going? The surprise of him landing with the Blue Jackets. The biggest story in my mind, and I'm biased, but it's Waddell and the maneuvers that he made and the trades that he made to make a Carolina Hurricane Stanley Cup contender even stronger.
Yeah, like we said to open the program, to me, one of the top 2, first day of free agencies.
Man, oh man!
If not the best.
What a crazy week. It's funny. We always record these on Saturdays, and I have to apologize. I let my enthusiasm get the best of me, because after Pacioretty, my tweet to you immediately was, "We're recording tonight, aren't we?" Like, I was full pressure. Like, we're doing this tonight, right? Because we got to talk about this. Holy crap!
Yeah,
and you know what? This is life. Time doesn't work out. I'm actually and is thinking of that now. I'm even more grateful that we waited, because we've had a time to digest, and we've had a time to hear from Waddell himself. We've heard from Pacioretty and Burns. I cannot wait to see the barbecue commercials that Burns does. The Carolina barbecue, the Carolina
Parker's.
barbecue. Oh my gosh,
Bernsey,
it's
Parker's. Wilson.
it's gonna be
So here's a question that's popped up. A few people, Deb and a few others, have said on Twitter. Is it time to retire the Storm Surge?
no.
To do something else? No, because
No.
I kind of agree with the argument being made is they're kind of going through the motions a bit, like they're not doing things different. They kind of circle up and clap. I feel like they should still do that. Maybe call it something different. I don't know, but the one that I think I'm going to miss is the Trocheck into Slavin,
Oh, the
jump
jump.
hugs. And part of me just wants to see that continue, but with Burns jumping into
Slavin's arms.
That's what I want.
That would be outstanding.
That's what I need.
They'd actually each have to take turns doing that. That you know what I mean? One jumps into they just alternate. Hey, is it my turn to jump today or is it yours? I don't know. I would love to see that for I gotta tell you. No, don't get rid of the Storm Surge. Acknowledge something. This is something that I've always liked. And the fact that they choreographed a lot of great little skits, if you will, was fantastic. It was fun. But the most important part about that, it was an acknowledgement that the team is able to achieve what they do on home ice because of you, Caniacs, because of you, jerks. Okay?
Love it.
That it makes you feel like you are more part of the team when they acknowledge you and say, hey, it's not all just us. You guys provide us the fuel. You give us the energy. When we need that bump and you guys start standing and screaming your arses off, that's what it's about. And I mean, to get rid of that would just be it would just be a mistake. They don't even have to get into the circle. They don't even have to do the clap. I just like the acknowledgement aspect. But the clap is great. I dig that.
In my mind, I'd like to see like take a lap around the boards, right? Give it a wave, stick taps on the glass or something. Maybe make a lap or two and then off. That way you can kind of one-on-one, like a little eye contact with fans.
Oh, that would be something.
Some guys are going to throw sticks in the crowd once or twice or so. Maybe switch it up in a little bit away or something. But I still like the idea of the acknowledgement. But
for sure, sure. So we're all Caniacs and jerks, and we love this team, and it's going to be a really good season. There will be more to talk about in the days to come once I's get dotted and T's get crossed, and knock on wood that we get the guys that we want.
I definitely have 2 weeks from the day down as the next definite recording, the 30th.
100%.
If something happens this week, we will record the 23rd, I think, if not sooner than that, if we can, like if life doesn't get in the way, right?
Indeed. Thank you to all of our listeners who have taken the time to check us out. As we have said many, many times, hockey should be for everyone. It is for everyone, but it should be. We know the failings at times. We love having you aboard. We love that you're listening, and keep sending us questions.
I'm always muting myself.
You're muting yourself. Sorry, I was taking over.
No, I just was going to say, if you listen to the show, you haven't been on, you're interested in coming on. Like we said, last week, if you have an opinion, that's all we really care about. We like to hear Caniac stories. We've talked to 30 people, I think, over 2 years.
Yep.
We got thousands more Caniacs to go. So there's a lot of folks out there.
There's always room in the storm cellar, okay, for one more. And people got to look at us, how big we are. You might think, well, the storm cellar only fits 2 guys. Look at how big you 2 are. No.
There's tons of room.
No, there's tons of room in the storm cellar, and we'd love to join you, have you join us. And really, I guess, with all of that said, is there anything left to say?
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.